Hi, friends. I am Marie Woods, founder of Life Above Foundation, your host, a professional counselor, family and marriage therapist, and a wholeness life coach. Welcome to Relationship Real Talk, the podcast where we dive deep and tackle the toughest relationship challenges Christians face today. Are you tired of struggling with unforgiveness, past wounds, and conflicts? Feeling lonely or having trouble communicating? Wrestling with trust issues or trying to balance your faith with your relationship goals? Feeling stuck and stagnant in your relationship? You are in the right place. Here at the Relationship Real Talk, we get real and cover a wide range of topics, including relationship anxiety, trauma bonds, infidelity, estrangement, toxic dynamics, dating after divorce, and how to heal from relationship trauma and grow and build healthy and lasting relationships. We're not just about identifying the problems. We're all about finding real, integrated solutions from multiple disciplines and offering professional help from different fields to mend and strengthen your relationships. So, let's get started on this journey together, one honest, heartfelt conversation at a time. And today we're back to the topic on love and the relationships. So I have my guest speaker, Linda Geiger, with me today again. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you. Great to be here with you, Marie.
Good. So today we're going to focus on our second part of this conversation, which will be attract the right person. She is a certified professional coach, author, and speaker. As a Christian entrepreneur, she is the CEO and the founder of her own virtual love and relationship coaching practice. So Linda, in our first part of the conversation, you talked to us about dating. So today we're going to focus on the topic of attract the right person. For single people out there. So how can single people, attract the right kind of partner into their lives?
I know it's a big concept, but there's some specific steps that can be taken in a kind of a tried and true process, as I mentioned last time. First, being opening our hearts to love. And that is a step in itself, that we actually believe that we can receive love, that there is someone for us, that there's someone wonderful for us. And we'll talk about how to get to that point in a minute. Being grateful, just having a grateful heart, entering into a day, starting a day with gratitude, as we know, can just shift our whole mindset. So much of what we're talking about has to do with our thoughts, what we're thinking. In the Bible talks about think on some wonderful things, think on positive things, and then pay attention to the words that we say. So if we turn on a dating app and before we go into it, we say, "Wow, wonder what kind of jerks are on here today," that's going to lead us into finding jerks probably, and we're acting like a jerk maybe a little bit too. So paying attention to ourselves and doing a lot of our own personal work to get ready is really about 80% of it. The next step is clearing away some blocks or resistance after we get to that belief and faith that there really is someone wonderful for us. We've probably had relationships in the past, either our family of origin or other romantic relationships that haven't gone well. There's an often common expectation that this one's going to be the same. I always attract the same kind of person. Sometimes other people say that to us. Sometimes we say that to ourselves. So letting go of that idea and saying, just for today, starting today, I'm starting the next step in the rest of my life. I am here to meet a wonderful person, and that's what's going to happen to me. It sounds like Pollyanna positive thinking, But if we drive out our driveway to go to the grocery store and don't expect to ever get to the grocery store and think we're going to get lost, we'll probably get lost. So that's just a simple example of setting our thought process into believing and expecting something wonderful, what we want, and letting go of the expectation of things being the way they were in the past. And there's a whole process to go through. And I know with the work that you do, Marie, it's not always a simple thing to let go of an expectation of a relationship with someone who's maybe an addict, or a narcissistic relationship, or something that we've had in the past that's caused a lot of problems. It isn't as simple as just saying, I'm not going to meet someone like that. So clearing away some of those roadblocks and beliefs is an important step as well.
So good. I'm glad that you just pinpoint the very key things. You started with the mindset, the right mindset, right? That's where, where our attention focus, our energy follows. It's like an inner campus, I would call it a GPS. So if we focus on the negativities, the things that have been the things that are happening in our past are holding us back, like fears or negative thoughts toward men, or people have this distrust, generally speaking, in men. So those, like you mentioned about roadblocks, can keep us, blind us from seeing the right person when people come to our lives, right?
Right. And we can be giving off an energy that is blocked as well. If we, as a woman, if I go into a room and just have closed body language, I'm looking down, or I'm looking angry, maybe looking sad or frustrated, it draws attention in a certain way, or it can not draw any attention at all. And so the energy that we have when we're among people, getting used to being our very best self, having joy in our lives, looking like we're joyful. And sometimes it's a little fake it till you make it, because we're shifting our mindset. We don't want to not be who we are meant to be, but being approachable and open, both genders need to have some kind of an indication that someone is interested in a conversation. Extroverts are more comfortable with talking to people that they don't know. Introverts tend to be a little less that way. So paying attention to a lot of different things about how we are physically, even in among people, is another thing to focus on as well.
That's an interesting point. When you talk about energy and we're physical beings, besides we're spiritual being, we're also physical being. We have this energy inside of us. So how we radiate out of this body, our energy carried, we carry it with us. That can be another part of attraction. You mentioned about extrovert and introvert. So I want to hear a little bit more on that part. Some people have type A personality. Some people have more withdrawal, reserved personality. Sometimes feel the too much energy out there, so the person just shying away or avoid that. So those are kind of dynamics between two people. So can you just talk a little bit more on that?
Yeah, what comes to mind with that before we talk about those two different maybe types of personalities is trust, because it goes back to the women that I work with sometimes think like, okay, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, I have this, I have a list, I'm working on this and I'm working on that. And then it's time to just take a breath and trust and know that there is someone out there specifically for you, that in a world of 7.5 billion people, there's someone, at least one person, who's a great match for you. And we can just trust that. So it's not so much trying to be more extroverted if we're introverted, or more calmed down if we have a big personality. It's really being ourselves. Obviously, considering the other people in the room, but knowing that if I'm with a friend who is just very boisterous and exuberant and she's just the life of the party, that I don't need to try to match that energy to get the attention of a type of a person that I'd be a good match with, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. Talk about a matching and compatibility, sometimes a person could be, I mean, it's just a person part of personality type, I think. A person can talk loud and talk a lot. And so another person just, withdrew in that situation anyway. So like what you said, be yourself, right? Be yourself. We don't have to be just pretend to be someone else that we're not. Be
Right,
authentic, be real.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And being ourselves, if people are more introverted, that doesn't mean just I'm an introvert, so I'm going to sit in the corner and be an introvert. It really does take some practice at making eye contact with people, smiling at them, just feeling comfortable. Being ourselves doesn't mean just kind of closing down. So that body language and that sort of energy needs to go along with what type of personality you have.
Yeah, that makes sense. So talk about the attraction. Um, I know, we know there's a different layer, different levels of attraction besides the appearance, the physical part, and also intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. So I want you to take us, in the different direction, how we attract to a person, not a physical appearance, but also with the characters, the things I mentioned about.
Right, right. Yeah, and there are levels of attraction is what I describe is the basic kind of survival level of attraction is really kind of a desperation feeling like I need a partner, I'm tired of being alone, I haven't dated for a long time, or I just got out of a relationship and I really need to have someone in my life. That feeling of desperation is considered to be on kind of a survival level of attraction, and that obviously isn't going to attract a person who is going to work out for us in a long-term situation. So we want to work through those kinds of feelings and those kinds of needs before we move on to attract someone who's really of the level and caliber that we want in the long run. The next level up of the three that I usually use is more of a human need kind of level. It's, I need some help with the bills. I need some help with the kids. I need to find somebody. And this is where the settling happens. It isn't a panic situation, but it's really like, well, I'm not going to really ever get this soulmate relationship. And I just need to accept that and move forward with doing the best I can. He's a pretty decent guy. I'm doing, what I can, and I think our relationship will work out okay. And then that highest level of attraction being that soulmate level. We're humans, we're not perfect, but our hearts are connected. We love to spend time together. The things that we love spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, intellectually, are not clones of each other, but they align enough to enjoy spending time together and enjoy just life and the things that we do. Certainly, people who have different interests and be madly in love with each other, and extroverts can be madly in love with an introvert. In fact, that often is the case because it kind of balances things out. So starting out with that level of attraction is an important thing to work through before we get to a point of saying, okay, I'm ready to date, because if we're at that survival level, it's often not going to go well for either person involved.
So that's so valid point, survival mode. So this comes with this question that I have, is that for folks out there, you are listening right now, are you seeking a relationship out of abundance or fullness? Um, in the best season, the best season of your life. I'm a happy person. I have my career, my life, everything, on your own in the situation, or you are out of desire to fill a void out of desperation, like Linda said. I just needed someone help me pay my bills. I needed someone taking care of my kids, things like that, out of a survival mode, or to avoid emptiness or, loneliness. Are you come from that place? So those are the key points I think we attract the people into our lives, right, Linda?
Right, right. That makes so much sense. And it really is, I think the majority, if it's not something we actually set an intention and do some work on, the majority of relationships are in the middle, in that middle section with the settling that happens. And to me, that's one of the reasons that divorce is high in the statistics, because taking the time, doing our own personal work, and also taking the time and trusting that we can really become who we want to become, like you said, to be happy with our lives, to have things together, and to be ready in a season of readiness for a great relationship, and then waiting for that great relationship to come along. Sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's longer than that. So it isn't a time frame so much as taking those steps and intentionally doing that kind of work.
Yeah, intentionally doing that kind of work, prepare ourselves. Like we mentioned earlier, 80% on us. It's really the inner person, I would say, how healthy we can become, and then the energy and the things that we radiate, we express ourselves, we manifest ourselves in the world. That's gonna attract different type of people into our lives. Are we negative? Are we just looking down ourselves? And that put us in the position we're looking for somebody out there to rescue us, right? And that can
Right.
attract to sometimes, like you mentioned, about some kind of toxic relationship, some kind of relationship develop into codependency later on, right? So we have seen those kind of patterns in both our works, right?
Right.
Then if we are healthy in a healthy place, we're happy with our life already, then we attract people who are in the same energy, same positivity, and the two come together, just make it better even.
Right. That's so right. And just along with that, remembering to not think that we have to get to this perfection state before we can start dating, because that can become a deterrent, and it can also postpone something that we're fearing. If we're afraid it's never going to happen, then we think, I just need to do a little bit more. I just need to lose 5 more pounds. I just need to lose 30 pounds. I just need to get my finances squared away. I just need to. We can postpone dating with that kind of a thought process as well. So somewhere in the middle is that balance of being ready, taking a step forward, and then trusting that we're not in control of the whole scenario, that we're doing our part.
Right. Yes, I remember in our first part of conversation, we talk about the confidence, right? So the confidence really arises from inside of us as women. How do we perceive ourselves? What is our value? Do you have a higher self-esteem? Do you see yourself as a valuable person? You have something to contribute to the relationship, and so that is so important, rather than seek out for someone else to complete us, to fill us up. So that's two, I would say, two different states of being different. I think this question might bring some clarity to people. Before we go out to meet someone to make this to happen, I think probably people have to sit down to ask themselves, what is the foundation of my faith? And how does it shape my expectations in a relationship? There's something we can share, in life. Yeah, talk about this on the spiritual aspects.
Right. And, I think last time we talked a little bit about knowing who we're looking for, meaning you make a list, write it down, and then trust that God has even better than that in mind, and it might not align exactly. But when people decide they're going to date, then they think, okay, I want for sure to meet another Christian person.
Mhm.
And in the beginning, it's common that, oh, this person says they're a Christian. Okay, we're lined up spiritually, and we just take it from there. But knowing what that means to us, are we talking about someone who um, goes to church every week, somebody who goes to a specific kind of a church? And if that's really, really important to you, then that's an important factor to consider. And if it means I have one of my clients has grew up in a specific denomination, and she's teaches at a school and goes to this specific church. And her husband that she met almost 4 years ago now, he is a very strong Christian man. He doesn't um, lean toward attending churches. He has some challenges with how some churches run. And so that was a big discussion for them in the beginning was, can this work if I really want to go every Sunday? And that means a lot to me. And for him to say, I support you in that. I'm going to be home doing devotions and reading the word. And he meets with men's groups and leads men's groups and things. But in the beginning, she thought, well, this can't work. So knowing ourselves and our spiritual needs and what our values are is something that we can start with as we're putting together this picture of who this person is and who we are. It may be something they're assuming that we are a certain way, having those conversations. But I will also caution one of my clients now. We have our intellectual part that makes lists and wants to control things and take steps, and that's important because God wants us to take action. But then the Holy Spirit speaks to our hearts, knowing what's in our hearts, and just leaving it up to Him, is that we don't jump into a first date conversation with like, okay, where do you go to church and how is this and how is that? And remembering that we're talking about a whole person, body, mind, and spirit, somebody that we love to spend time with. And I just say, when we're dating, just have fun. Go intend to have fun. Let go of all the criteria and all the worries and all of the thought process that you think, I need to do this right. I need to get this perfect. What if I mess this up? Especially during the first few dates, just go see if it's someone that you enjoy spending time with.
Mm. Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned about just having fun time and see if you have the chemistry going on there, see if there's attraction on both sides. When this relationship started settling down and both feel like, yeah, we want to continue dating each other. And so where do we go from there? How can we, grow and develop the relationship? I think that is many people sometimes they struggle with. How can I carry on? What should I say to the person without offending her or him? So yeah, give us some, maybe roadmap, or how should that look like to take a next step?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, there's lots of books and lots of lifetimes spent on that. But listening is the first thing that comes to mind. We get nervous when we're meeting someone and we think we have to talk and fill in the silence and ask questions. I suggest having a few icebreaker kinds of questions in mind, just so you feel like, well, if it's completely quiet, I'm going to need to say something. And then you can kind of let that go. Even doing some role playing of asking some questions while you're getting ready can kind of calm that down. But what really makes such a difference, most people like to talk about themselves. So
Yeah.
if you just ask about them, a lot of times the first date can just be, especially for women, to sit and listen to the man talk about himself. And I don't say that because men talk about themselves more, but because if we as women ask some questions and give them the opportunity to relax and just have those kinds of points that they're making, it puts people more at ease. So because I work mostly with women, I just suggest that we ask a few questions about them and then plan to listen and not worry about it if the whole conversation, the first one, is really one-sided, but getting used to listening. And then after that, certainly if every conversation, even the second one, is all about them, then it makes us wonder if we're going to have a conversation or if it's just going to be this way always. And to even maybe say, would you like to hear a little bit about me? To give them the opportunity to go like, oh my goodness, they were so nervous that they thought, I forgot. I really do want to know about you. And not just to assume, oh, they're an egotistical person because they don't want to hear about me. Grace and mercy, listening, are great things to do in especially the first 3 to 6, and I don't give date numbers necessarily, but 3 weeks or so, if you want to keep seeing each other, if you have, gone out 2 or 3 times. And after 6 weeks, you have a little bit better idea. And that's kind of what you were talking about is, okay, getting into some more depths in this relationship. Trust that one of the statements made by one of my mentors is, you can't mess it up with the right one. There is someone for you, and don't go away from a date going like, oh man, I messed that up. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have texted that to them. Oh my goodness, they're not calling me back. I've ruined my life because I said the wrong thing. Just trusting that you're not going to mess it up. But conversation will likely flow with the right person pretty easily. If there are things that you're avoiding talking about or they're avoiding talking about, a relationship builds forever. So you're going to always have things to uncover and discover about each other, but mutual respect, not jumping to conclusions, honoring the other person as a human. If you're doing those things and listening, you've got 90% of it taken care of. Really, and I just suggest at the end of each date, the only questions that should be asked, and this is once again for women, because women kind of tend to think, okay, I had my first date, he fits all my boxes, he might be my husband. Whoa, slow down.
Right.
It's the only question to ask is, do I want to see this person again? That's all you need to know. For the first few, for sure, while you're building that friendship relationship.
Yeah, as you were talking about that level, the layer of trust from very beginning, am I feel comfortable with this person? Can I be myself in front of this person? Right? You mentioned about earlier, there's certain things I hesitate to tell this person, or I'm afraid I'm gonna offend this person. Maybe you already feel something from this person, right? So I think you're right. From the very beginning, after the first date, ask a hard question. Do I really want to spend more time with this person? Go out date again with the same person. So yeah. So as we're talking about, Christian dating, in terms of faith and the character, let's see what are those, things that for us, men and women out there, as are non-negotiable. Like what you're saying, oh, this might be deal breaker. Yeah, so in the first section, we talk about, what are those must-haves? What are those nice to have? What are those deal breakers? And particularly for Christians, we confess, we're follower believers of Christ, we trust in God. So our faith value really comes from, God's word and what God wants for us, for the best. Not, just compromise, oh, that's my work, just let time carries on, let's see what happens. But I believe we were talking about we have to have this blueprint or this roadmap in our mind, have the mindset first. Then we look outside for the right person. The things that as Christians we really value about, that is non-negotiable according to the Bible, according to God's will for us.
Right. Right. So starting with what does God say? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So we want to be a person who seeks God in his righteousness. That's number one. That is number one for me. That is number one for my partner. And if that isn't the case, we need to know that for sure. So not just discount someone because I don't think so, and they're off our list, but making sure that that is the priority. And then God says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So both of those verses have a requirement in the beginning and then a promise at the end. And just for us to follow those two verses will get us really into the relationship and be open to the relationship that God has for us, knowing that God is the priority. And then, the Bible has a lot of information about the roles of men and women. And we talked about that a little bit last time. It was interesting. My pastor did a sermon on that, even right after we talked during our first session, that the roles of each person need to follow God's plan, because God created us to be who we are. And that doesn't mean, women submit to your husbands and the way the pastor did it was, a marriage is like this. We aren't like this. You're the boss. I'm the subservient. I'm your servant. You're the hierarchy. The man has a responsibility to be the husband, and like Christ loved the church, so and gave himself for it. So men have a big responsibility. Women have a responsibility. And if we follow God's plan for us, because we were created to be the way that we are, both will honor each other. Both will, and certainly we can't do it perfectly because we're humans, but both will have God in the middle of this relationship. And it isn't, I'm in charge of this and you're in charge of that, and you need to do this and you need to do that. It doesn't come with a guidebook. It doesn't say, okay, we take these 3 steps, our marriage is going to be perfect forever. It's a daily walk, just like our daily walk with the Lord, but following his guidance. He has a user's manual in the Bible because he created us to follow that. If that makes sense.
Yes, definitely. I would say as Christians, like you mentioned about, put God in the priority, in the number one position, enter into a new season of life, enter, a new relationship. Hey, let's put this in the right position. God always will be the first and foremost, right? And under any other human relationships on earth, and God will always be the number one in our lives as believers. So with that in order, and both men and the women and submit themselves and God's authority, and following God's commandment, God's will. And then I think in that order, and both come together, can make it work. So
yeah, both people are dedicated to following that. And this pastor gave an example. He and his wife have been married for like 20 years or something, and obviously very dedicated to their marriage and to each other. And she was sick, and the previous Sunday he did a sermon on marriage, and then he went home, and she had been sick for several days. And he said, I walked in and said, okay, if you're still sick tomorrow, we're going to the doctor, we're going to get this taken care of. And he said, I was taking care of her. I thought it was my job to get this fixed, and that she would count on me for my strength. And she said, that's not helping me. And he said, what would help you? And she said, sit down with me, hold my hand, and put a wet washcloth on my forehead. And he said, I never would have come up with that, but that's what she wanted, because men and women are different. And he said, he comes back for this second sermon in this family series saying, I still don't know how to do it. I'm still learning. And that was just encouraging, I think, to know that we need to listen to each other, and that, to me, that he was dedicated to find out what would help you. This is what I think will help, not to assume that. And for her to not be angry with him, but appreciate that he's really wanting to do the right thing, and then to let him know what that is without being angry.
Right. So when you are talking about this, give us this example, perfect example, so good that it makes me think. We were talking about a love language. So for men and women, we have a different love languages. For us to be able to understand each other's love language, then we can serve each other, love on each other in a better way, fits each other's needs. So as Christians, men and women, I would say that again, that we really wanted to shed the light and to express Christ inside of us. Again, I think that's really attractive to the person in front of us. And so for us, even in the dating season, maybe we should pray the prayer. We'll ask ourselves, how can I be Christ-like today to this person? How can I be Christ-like in this relationship? Really shed the light and speak wisdom and truth to this person in front of me. If both parties have this desire to do the same, I think that would be really wonderful. And like what you mentioned about earlier, to delight in the Lord and our happiness, our joy, our satisfaction, to be filled by the Lord, then He would give us the desire of our hearts. And that's just so beautiful.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. And a lot of it is just believing that it's possible. So much of the work that I do is helping people to believe that it's possible and to keep going in hope and faith that this
Yeah.
is what God has for us. And not because to me, the enemy gets in the way and says, it's pie in the sky. You're asking too much. You don't deserve this. You're not worth it, blah, blah, blah. And to just say, God really has this for me. And I want to become who He wants me to become. And I want to trust that, yes, there are people like I'm looking for. And to start looking around at couples that are godly couples that we can actually see with our eyes, that have relationships like what we want, because so many people think I've only had the relationships that haven't worked, or my parents didn't have a good relationship, or maybe our friends don't. And to start looking for what it is that we want and realizing that God does do that.
Yes, He does. He does. So coming to the end of our conversation today, I do have a last question, since we both are coaches and we help people individually and in relationships as well. So do you think I have a support system of godly friends or mentors to guide us, to help us along the way? Would it be good?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And really the people that we hang out with influence us so much. And I think, it's been a long time ago, but there was a book about who are the 5 people that you spend the most time with? And are they the people who exemplify who you want to be? And if they aren't, do you want to make some shifts in your relationships with friends? And then, yes, we weren't, God said it's not good for man to be alone. We weren't put on the earth to do life by ourselves. And we're talking about relationships, but having encouraging friends and as you said, we're both coaches. So that's part of what we do as coaches, is continually encourage, but being around people who support what we want to do, who encourage us, is not only just valuable, but it's essential, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so important to have this mentorship or friendship, or whoever, we invite people into our lives and to shed the light and give us the encouragement when we need and the guidance we need. Sometimes can save us from wasting time and energy. And so this is so important. So yeah, as we wrap up today's section, I do hope you enjoying our conversation today, and reach out to Linda and me if you need some guidance or further, you need some accountability or more information from us. Feel free to reach out to us, and don't forget leave a comment below if you want to give us feedback, or if you have any questions. We welcome your feedback. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and stay tuned, and we will have the third part of our conversation. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.